Hi, folks. Canadian Prepper here. So today it's going to be a bit of a meandering rant about economics, about our cultural decline, about the collapse of the American dollar, and World War III. Okay, I got to give you a bit of a handle here, though, to make you interested in this video. We're going to talk about money primarily in this video, but I also need to provide some context. Why is it that the American empire is in decline? A classic example of this is the Uvalde incident, where we've seen a level of cowardice on display that probably has made us the laughing stock of the world. I mean, think about how Russia and China they must look at that scenario and they must ask themselves, I mean, these guys are scared to go and save their own children. Should we really be scared of fighting these guys in a war? The symbolism there with the guy sanitizing his hands while he's LARPing around with the body armor while children are being slaughtered. I mean, just shows how distorted our priorities are as a society. And nothing is a better example of our culture in decline as the two extremes which were displayed there. On the one hand, you had extreme cowardice. And on the other hand, you had this psychopath, right? This consequence of the failed American dream. This person who grew up in this virtual social media society that unfortunately did not come with a set of instructions, psychological instructions. The lack of family, the lack of tribe, the lack of all things that went into making us human for tens of thousands of years. Now, we can go every which way with this discussion, but one thing is for certain, that cowardice that was on display has made us the laughing stock of the world. We're not the laughing stock of the world for other reasons. Our money is about to be turfed as the global reserve currency. And I say Canadian and American because our dollar is very, tightly tethered to the US dollar. Why precious metals are probably going to be the only safe haven for wealth, as other countries have now seen. They've seen how the West operates. And now they have a choice. You're having all of these countries start to align. This whole BRICS summit, it's right there. It's right there for everybody to see, but a lot of people aren't going to see what is transpiring yet. The fact of the matter is we are no longer the center of the universe, and there's going to be a lot of people who are going to jump ship while they can. Okay, because we live in a multinational world where allegiance to whatever sort of patriotic constitution, allegiance to the American flag, you might think some of our leaders have, and some do. The fact of the matter is the people who are in charge are just going to jump ship when it all goes under. And the American people and the West are going to be left in the dark, in the literal dark, because all of the energy is going to flow eastward. Now, why am I making this video? Okay, it's because this Bitcoin generation, and trust me, I understand cryptocurrency. I had a whole long stint in, the Michael Saylor period of my life, okay, where I invested in crypto, I made a little, I lost a little, I made it back, I lost it. I went through that whole phase. And there's going to come a time when blockchain technology is utilized for monetary purposes. I don't think we are even remotely close to there yet. For one, I think that we need to achieve a level of technological ubiquity in which the network is so resilient that we almost need to have our own network. We can't rely on just the internet as it is today, as powered by the grid. You almost need, in order for blockchain to replace gold and silver, okay, you need the network to be foolproof. And I don't think we get there until post-World War III. In our idealist fervor for the future, we forget that we are still primates. Okay, we're primates with smartphones. I mean, look at what we use our smartphones for. It's all social media clout. We are still driven by our sexual desires. That's why at the core of every advertising campaign, or almost every advertising campaign, is something that plays on our insecurities or tries to compel us to buy something because it's going to make us more sexually attractive, or it's going to help us find a mate, or it's that whole Bernays thing, all right? And then you look at the carnage of these shooting events, and you look at the wars that we're fighting right now, and we haven't changed at all, not one iota. You know, we have not evolved psychologically as a species. I would say that we've yet to psychologically evolve our opposing thumb in a mental sense. We have in a physical sense, but we're not nearly as evolved as we think. And as soon as the lights go out, that'll become very apparent, because we are going to regress to that primal state where it's just about acquiring our basic needs at any cost. And we're going to see that the whole idealistic pipe dream about crypto being the new global currency is, unfortunately, we don't have the infrastructure built for that yet. Gold, on the other hand, and silver. I've been thinking about this a lot because I never used to be a person who was a big believer in gold and silver. As a prepper, first and foremost, you get all of your bare necessities squared away first. Gold and silver is not worth a damn thing if nobody has food to sell or barter with it. If nobody has water, if nobody has the essential medicines that you need to keep yourself alive, especially if you rely on chronic medications. No amount of gold and silver can buy your health. As a store of value, as we move from a US-based global reserve currency to a yuan, ruble, multipolar based currency type world, and the US dollar does eventually fall out of favor, which it inevitably will, because countries are going to see what has transpired in our approach to dealing with the current crises with the Russians. No matter how you want to look at it, the fact of the matter is the US is like the big bank, and when you see a bank turfing customers or withholding funds, you start to lose faith in that bank. Okay, no matter what the situation was, you start to realize that, you know, these people could throw us under the bus at any moment. And so if there is something that looks better out there and nations can see that, hey, you know, we might be able to get a better deal if we go with these guys and trade in their dollars instead, then it's game over for the American dollar. It's game over for the West, who's tethered to the American dollar. And that's when the only thing that's going to have real value is things that have had value for thousands of years. In the same way that we are still primates, we try to disguise it, we try to use plastic surgery, we try to, you know, pretend that we're something we're, you know, all the girls with the makeup. I mean, within the first 7 days of SHTF, there's going to be a lot of homely looking ladies around. I'm sorry to say it, but it's the truth. Maybe some people like that natural beauty type thing, but, and, you know, I do too. But I'm just saying, you know, there's a lot of fake people out there who are trying to mask their true monkey nature. And it's all going to be revealed when the whole facade ends. We're going to go back to what we've known for thousands of years, which is gold and silver, because we haven't evolved beyond this yet. There's some people, some idealists, and I was one of them, who thought that we may have reached a point. Because when you're young, you think that your generation is the best. You think that you're, you know, different, right? And you are marginally so. I mean, we're always pushing the envelope a little bit more, culturally speaking. Unfortunately, that's not really true. Just because we have smartphones than they didn't in the 19th century doesn't mean we're fundamentally different, because when all that goes away, we're going to gravitate to what we've known and what is rare. And the only means of doing any sort of commerce, which is going to facilitate more complex transactions when we want to, you know, start rebuilding communities out of the ashes, is gold and silver, precious metals. Sure, barter is going to be good, but eventually you're going to get to a point where you go and you want to trade something for something else, but that other person doesn't need what you have. And so they're going to want some other proof of value, okay? Some other way to communicate that, or a portable means of conferring value is what this is. And all this is, guys, is energy. All money is energy. everything is energy in the market. Whether it's food, medicine, it's energy in the sense that it allows things to happen. It allows people to do things. And gold and silver are obviously unique in the sense that they're rare, but they do have some intrinsic value. And case in point is the James Webb Telescope. It is coated, the actual mirrors that they use are coated in gold. Now, it's a small amount of gold, but for me, that is rather poetic and mysterious. How this substance, this incredible substance, I have a 5 gram or 10 gram piece of it right here. This incredibly rare substance has now allowed us to peer further into the heavens than we've ever have before. Isn't that amazing? And isn't it amazing that this substance exists in the first place? One of the most malleable metals. It's the most fractionable metal. I can't remember, you can beat like an ounce of gold into like a mile-long sheet or something like that, which is why you can buy things like gold leaf, and you can have things like edible gold, and it's actually affordable because gold is so malleable. It's one of those things that, you can't fake it. Sometimes I ask myself, what would our society look like if gold never existed? If the meteor that splashed our planet with gold at some point in time never existed? And then you think about all the biblical references to gold, like the golden calf and stuff like this. It's just a very, very interesting substance to me. And it was almost integral to the development of our civilization, that without it, I'm not sure how we would have evolved. We likely would have been stunted, because in order to get to the coinage level of monetary exchange, like first you start with barter, then you go to like a precious metal, then you go to coinage, which is based on precious metals, and then you go to coinage, which is derivative of precious metals. So coinage that in itself doesn't have value, but it confers some agreed upon value because it's stamped, it's authenticated, it can't be counterfeited. And then you go to, paper fiat currency, electronic, and then you go to cryptocurrency. I wanted to do a dedicated video about this, and I was trying to think about, how could I do this in a way that was just not me rambling on about everything, and I think I failed at that, unfortunately. But I guess what I'm trying to say, guys, is if you do have disposable income, I would strongly recommend that you consider gold and silver. The problem with real estate, it's great, and I'm not saying that there aren't still good possibilities and opportunities for investing your money and getting a good return. You don't buy this sort of stuff to get a return. You buy it because it's a store of your energy, right? I go and work for a couple days, I make a couple $100, and I go and I buy this. This now is a way that I can preserve the labor that I gave my life for, and then I can trade that labor in the future for something, because somebody out there is going to find this valuable, because not only does have intrinsic value, and that it's one of the most conductive metals, it's rare, and it's something that everybody has in their blood. Every human being, for some reason beyond our knowledge, seeks gold. This is why it drives people to madness. This little metal can drive men insane, and it can lead people to be very greedy. Don't get me wrong, but this is like the basis of all conquest. But it's something that we need, and it's vital for the evolution of our species. But it's kind of vital in the same way that religion is vital. At some point, we needed religion, because you got to understand, before they were able to enforce laws, before you had police and militaries, you needed a way to scare the crap out of people. Right? You needed a way to put the fear of God in people so that they didn't do bad things. Because you got a bunch of, angry apes running around, and now they got weapons. Well, you got to put something in their head. You got to put a cop in their head, right? That's what religion did for us. So religion is necessary, a necessary stepping stone to get to the feudal era, to get to the Renaissance, to get to where we are today. And this is not to, take away from the spiritual component of it. I'm just talking about religion as a means of social control. It serves a vital function for that, above and beyond whatever sort of truths might be contained therein from a spiritual point of view. But I'm going to leave you with a pragmatic note. So we did videos on these gold backs recently, and I figure that it's only fitting that if I have a preparedness store where we sell survival products, that we accept gold backs at our store. So we are going to start accepting gold backs. Now, how you're going to purchase things through gold backs is you're obviously going to have to contact us. You can place an order either over the phone using our 1-800 number. You can email us through the website. You can state your order. You would send us the gold backs, and then we would send you your stuff. It's as simple as that. We'll give you a shipping estimate if you don't qualify for free shipping. And it's as simple as that. So we accept cryptocurrency. We accept Bitcoin through Coinbase. We accept Ethereum and whatever else Coinbase has, Dogecoin, all the rest. Obviously, we accept debit, credit. But I think it's only appropriate that we practice what we preach and we accept gold backs. Now, I would like to accept silver and gold. Unfortunately, we don't have a system in place that we can validate those things easily. Gold backs, very hard to counterfeit. So, I'm okay with accepting these. But yeah, just some food for thought for you guys today, because I do think that the gold market right now, gold was down a little bit from its peak a few months ago where it hit 2,000. It's down to 1,700, and people are concerned. I think it has a lot to do with the strength of the US dollar to which it's measured by. Gold hasn't gone down relative to other currencies. And I would also say that it likely has a lot to do with margin calls because of the stock market tanking. Okay, people have to sell stuff, and what do people hold on to? They hold on to gold for hard times. You get your margin called in, and basically they say you need to pay up, so you got to sell whatever you have, no matter what. And in those cases, smart people who have gold, who know why it's a $15 trillion market, they have to sell, and that drives the price down. But in the long run, gold will prove to be resilient for the foreseeable future, at least for our lifetimes. Bitcoin, cryptocurrency will have its day, but not until we have some sort of independent mesh network, which is independent from the government, which cannot be regulated by any country, by any nation. When there's so many satellites up in the air, or a network which just can't be taken down, is what we're going to need, I believe, before people can put their full confidence in cryptocurrency as a means of exchange. And I would argue that I don't think Bitcoin is the end all and be all. I think it's the first, but I don't think it's definitely not the last. And it likely won't be the most efficient. It could very well be the MSN Messenger or MySpace of cryptocurrency. And where's MySpace today? It ain't around. I'm sure it's still a website, but nobody uses it. So something to think about. Anyways, guys, let me know what your thoughts are on whatever I've talked about in the comment section below. I know I've kind of went in every which direction, but to me, it's all interrelated. The collapse of our civilization is not only due to the collapse of the dollar, but all of that stems from the decline of our family values, the culture of frivolity that has emerged out of abundance, and the spoiled brat, I want it now, school shooter culture, the coward, the LARPing, cop culture where we're not even willing to save our own children, yet we're big tough guys because we can pilot drones and remotely kill people we've never seen from an aircraft carrier. Like, we don't know. I'm not just trying to discount all people who are in these positions. There's many brave people, firefighters, even cops, that do put their lives on the line. But, you know, that cowardice that was on display, I personally think that our adversaries must look at that and must just, it must, give them a sigh of relief, um, to see us, how we act under pressure, how we're not willing to die, like a lot of countries' inhabitants are. Anyways, you guys let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Canadian Prepper out.